Welcome, I'm Bill Anderson. I'm coming live from the Costa del Sol, but my guest today, who I have to say I'm delighted to have joining me, probably couldn't live much further away from me and still be in Spain. My guest today is coming from the northwest corner of Spain, Galicia, and I can see him, but I can see a puzzled look on his face, and I'm not sure that he can hear me. Can you hear me, John Ensor? We got off to a little bit of a false start there, but I think we're all sorted now. John Ensor, from the wilds of Galicia in the northwest corner of Spain. Welcome to EXPAT Radio.
Oh, I'm glad you could make it. I do apologise. So you were wanting a technical engineer, weren't you, I think?
Yeah, well, you're going to have to pay for the technical engineer because she just fixed it for you.
Yeah, I do apologise. Sorry about that, then.
John, it's very nice to see you, to speak to you today. And I was saying right at the beginning, we couldn't easily be much further away from each other distance-wise, maybe just a little bit, but you're over 1,000 kilometres away. From where I am on the Costa del Sol. I suppose if it was in Almeria, it would be a bit further. But you are really right up in the sort of northwest corner of Spain, aren't you?
That's right. Yeah. I just took my dogs out before I joined, and it was pouring with rain.
Oh, lovely.
Yeah. When there's a certain news program we watch, and it shows you the world and where it's raining. There's various places. England's one of them, and Galicia is the next one. Yeah, it's pouring with rain.
Well, John, I'm right saying you're a Yorkshireman, aren't you?
That's true. Yeah.
So you moved from Yorkshire.
Yeah.
Why on earth? I mean, you could have just moved up the road to Scotland and got all that rain.
True. Yeah.
What made you?
Yeah, I think. Do you know what? For the lifestyle, I mean, there's more reasons to this, which we'll go into, but I think for the lifestyle that we wanted, we couldn't have afforded a house like we have in England.
Right.
And we've got animals as well, and we wanted just a better life, a bit more nice scenery. I didn't want to look out of the window and see houses.
No, right.
Or an urban, setting as such.
And
you could never afford that in England. We could never afford a house, a detached house on its own. So, yeah, that's one of the reasons that we moved. Why do people move anyway, I suppose?
Sure. But you moved to a great Galician metropolis, didn't you?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
How many of you live in the hamlet?
Yeah, it's Little Aldea, and there's five of us all together.
Five of you.
With my wife. Yeah, and around the corner there's a Dutch couple, and just next to us, if you like, across the little single track, there's a sole Gallaghan called Miguel, and he has sheep. So that's it. We're in the wilds, we're up in the mountains. Oftentimes, we were saying as well, even in summer, you'll wake up and it's bright sunshine here. And in the valley, it looks like snow.
Right.
Clouds. And when you go into town shopping, it's freezing cold and it's wet. but we escaped some of it up here.
You're what, 500-600 meters above sea level where you are, yeah?
Something like that, yeah.
But because that general part of Galicia is about, I think in general, about 400 meters above sea level, and you're a bit above all of that, yeah?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. You know, when I first came here, I did a lot of cycling.
Right.
And there's no easy routes, and you see some people getting off and walking. So, everywhere you go, it's steep, it's mountainous, and that's why we love it.
Right.
Nowhere else, for me, on earth like it,
Yeah, but it is, we're going to talk about all of this, John. It's a very kind of remote lifestyle that you've chosen. not just in Galicia, because there are big cities in Galicia as well. I guess you've got Santiago. Lugo doesn't look that small. That's not too far away from you. But you really have chosen this kind of extreme isolation, almost perched up on the top of a mountain.
Yeah, it's something. I mean, I was born in a little mining village in Doncaster, and Nina, on the other hand, her father was in the RAF, so they travelled around, and it was often quite rural. So I suppose I'm a townie, and she's more country.
Right.
She's always been horse riding, always done sort of outdoor pursuits and things like that. So when we got married, I was introduced to that, and I thought, this is a great life, going out to feed the horses and walk the dogs. It's something I'd never done before.
Right.
And I thought, I like this. It's nice. There's people don't get in the way. There's no arguments with your neighbours.
Yeah.
And we do like that. I like the solitude, the sort of remoteness of it.
Yeah. And as you said, John, there is an opportunity in a large swathe of the north of Spain to buy a very nice property at a price that you couldn't even buy a garage down here on the Costa del Sol.
No, absolutely, yeah. I've seen the prices down there, but having said that, I think San Sebastian and the Basque Country, very, very expensive.
Right.
And Andorra as well. That's another one that is, the prices are sky high. But Cantabria, Asturias. We looked at Asturias. Mm-hmm. It was a bit too mountainous. Right. For my wife. It's like, I suppose, Galicia on steroids. It's bigger. It's steeper, and the mountains are formidable. Yeah. Here, it's a little bit gentler. And she's half Irish. It reminded her of Ireland.
Right.
So it seemed like the perfect place. I mean, who knows? But again, there's reasons. I don't know if you want to go into that. There's reasons why we chose the north of Spain.
Yeah, that's I think for people listening, when they think of Spain, maybe they think of Madrid or Barcelona, maybe. But I think for most people, they take out the flamenco and paella, which you can get just about anywhere in Spain. They tend to think of Mediterranean coastline, beaches, and so I think what you're going to do for us is paint a very different picture of and I'm going to say this, and I'm going to get in trouble for saying it, real Spain, because. Where we live, we're very fortunate in that there's, we have 2/3 of the population are Spanish, which for a lot of the costas is a lot, and we're just outside a small village, which is still, I would say, 60%, 70% Spanish, but it's in some ways it's not real Spain because it's been built for tourism and for full English fry-ups and the sort of thing that I'm saying. It's a little bit, you've got to look for real Spain down here. You are in the heart of it.
Yes. It's here, and you notice it in so many ways. The language is one thing.
Sure.
Most places, and I've been to southern Spain. I've spent time in Albox and Almeria, and a little bit of time in Malaga.
Right.
And generally, I try out my terrible Spanish to order a drink. And they'll say, "Oh, you want a so and so?" Oh, yes, sorry. They finish it off because they speak English anyway. Generally, in my experience, here you have to learn the basics at least to order a drink. Very, very few people speak English.
Yeah.
You won't find English food, and you won't find foreign restaurants. They're few and far between.
Right.
I mean, the nearest town to us is a little place called Monforte de Lemos, and I think there's one Italian restaurant. So there's no Chinese restaurants.
Right.
There's no Indian restaurants. It's Galician food. They're so proud of the produce here that it's Galician food. You know, you have to travel. I think there's an Indian restaurant in Vigo, and it's the one thing I really love curry.
Yeah.
And it's the one thing. I mean, this is an ancient discussion that expats must have had for decades. What do you miss? Mostly, I would think in the south of Spain, you can find generally the products. You know, if it's a bottle of HP sauce,
right.
Am I allowed to say that? I'm sorry if it's a bottle of brown sauce or if it's English mustard or whatever it is, you can probably, I think, find it.
Oh, you can, yeah.
Here, you have no chance.
Yeah.
When people, it's like the same old like they did years ago. Oh, if you go into England, can you bring us back some horseradish? Or
but you know what, John? Some people would say that it's sacrilege to put HP sauce on anything that's produced, and Galicia, it's famous for a lot of things, including General Franco, which was his home territory. But it is famous for its food, and I guess predominantly seafood. But I would think things like lamb, very very popular up there as well. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a strange that one. Pulpo is the thing.
Pulpo, yeah.
If you had to pick, and I may be wrong here. Apologies if I'm wrong, but I would say if you had to pick a Galician dish, a typical one, it would be pulpo.
And pulpo is.
It's octopus.
Octopus, yeah. Yes. Yeah. For those that are listening in the United States, in case you didn't know what that was.
Yeah. And it's sprinkled with a little bit of paprika and whatnot. And it's great.
Yeah, the sort of typical is called pulpo a la gallega. And it's served on a wooden plate traditionally with slices of boiled potatoes. And then the pulpo goes on the top of that. The octopus is in little sort of circles on the top of that, sprinkled with olive oil, and then some sweet paprika or something like that on the top. Which it has to be the signature dish of Galicia, John, doesn't it?
I would think so. And there's a thing, arroz con bogavante.
Oh, right.
Which is if you had to put it in English terms, I suppose it's like a lobster paella.
Yeah.
Or as they say here, paella.
Paella.
They sound the J rather than the Y of the double L. Yeah. And it would be paella and calle, and we talked about that, didn't we?
We did, John. Yes. Yeah. I mean, the again, for people who think, oh yeah, in Spain they speak Spanish. Spain is no different from any other country, any other European country that I've visited, at least, where you can basically go from one village to the next, and the dialects change. And when you go from one region to another region, you notice even bigger differences. And Galicia has its own. Again, I'll probably get into trouble for calling it a dialect rather than a language. I don't know if it's an official language, but it's called Gallego or Gallego, which is like another thing to learn, isn't it? Because even if you learn pure Castilian Spanish, it doesn't necessarily mean you'll understand what people say back to you when you ask for something.
No, absolutely. No, I think I have obviously Spanish friends, and it's strange that the language. I think it's fascinating, and I love the diversity. I think that's a great thing. But here they will mix, and oftentimes if there's a sign in Spanish, the more militant ones will cross it out and scroll the Gallego version over the top.
Right.
You know, like these things happen, don't they, in various countries, whether you're in Wales or Scotland or maybe Ireland, I don't know.
Well, yeah. I mean, in Scotland, for a number of years now, as soon as you pass, I don't know, maybe Stirling and go north, you find a lot of the names are in Gaelic and in English.
Yeah. But these have been done personally. They're not by the council. people just cross it out and put the Gallego there.
Yeah.
So it's but they'll mix Castellano, as they call it.
Mm-hmm.
They'll mix Castellano and Gallego in the same sentence sometimes.
Right.
So you've got to be be careful, be on your wits, because they'll throw things in that you've never heard of before.
Yeah, it sounds like a sort of posh Glaswegian speaking English, you know?
Yeah, you could be right. Let's not go there. Yeah, you could be right, though. But I wouldn't know about that. But yeah. It's I said very few people speak English. Mm-hmm. But like anything, if you have a go, the people here are very, very kind. And they'll meet you halfway, like I suppose most places. But I think the people of Galicia are wonderful people.
Yeah.
Not complicated. Life's very simple and straightforward. Mm-hmm. And again, there's so many villages, and I think all Spain suffers with this, the depopulation. The little aldea where we have, there's 5 people. At one time, I believe there was about 80 lived here.
Right.
But over the years, it's shrunk and it's shrunk and it's shrunk. So there's so many places that like that, depopulated.
But I think that seems to be true, John, of many places on the north coast, where people, I guess, couldn't anymore make a living by sort of subsistence farming, and gradually have moved into the cities. And there are a lot of, when I say abandoned villages, they're not necessarily completely abandoned. Some of them have 5 people living in them,
Yeah.
But
Galician people are very, because it's something we talked about, the Celtic nations.
Yes.
There's obviously Scotland and Ireland, Wales, I think Cornwall, I believe. But then you've also got Brittany in France. Indeed. And then you've got Asturias and Galicia.
Right.
And they share this common Celticness. And it made me think. I think it was an advertising campaign in the 60s or 70s, I believe. Bill, you may know more about this, but I think it was something like Spain is different.
Yes.
And of course, everybody knows about Spain now. But all I can say is Galicia is different.
Yes.
Again, and you'll experience Spain in ways that you never thought would be possible. They have their own grapes. The different wine. You may not have heard of red and white.
Oh, I have sampled many of the Galician wines.
Have you?
Oh, indeed, yes, yeah. We have a friend who's been on the show a number of times, who is a sommelier. He has a restaurant down here, and he and his business partner take trips around Spain, visiting small bodegas, not the big ones, and sourcing wines to bring down here. So that the Rías Baixas wines they are superb. I think I've probably tried more Galician whites than I have Galician reds, but they are superb wines.
Yeah, they do a thing called Godello or Godeggio, a white, and Albarino, which should be made.
Albarino, definitely, yeah.
They drink them very young as well here. It's not like they've been maturing for a few years. They drink them very, very young. And Mencia is the red.
Right.
It's a mighty red. Oh, yeah. It's full bodied and.
I can hear a good hangover coming from a bottle of that, John.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. But it's in the canyon. The canyon is probably from where we are probably a 10-15 minute drive, something like that. Mm-hmm. And it is spectacular. You've got these deep-sided canyons with all the vines on the river sill, and they call it heroic viticulture or heroic farming because it's so steep. You can't do it with animals. You can't load the grapes onto donkeys, and machinery can't do it either. Mm-hmm. So oftentimes it's picked by hand, obviously, but it's transported on baskets on their shoulders as well.
Right.
And because it's so steep. I think it's called heroic farming or heroic winemaking.
Yeah, okay. John, we're going to take a short break, and when we come back, I'd like to talk to you about the sort of realities of this kind of move, because you still have to eat and you still have to pay your bills, and this is the bit I think a lot of people don't take into account with this romantic notion of moving to another country. So we're going to come back. We're going to talk a bit about that, and well, over to you, Dave. Welcome back. I'm Bill Anderson with my guest today, John Ensor, Yorkshireman, who is now relocated to northwest corner of Spain in Galicia. Welcome back, John.
Yeah, thank you.
John, a little bit about yourself. You moved from the UK out here. What was it you left behind in terms of your career, your work? What were you doing when you were in the UK?
I worked in an office for a office furniture company.
Right.
They make office furniture, and they sell it obviously all around the UK, and even we did installments in Barcelona and other places around Europe. All over. I think we had a contract once with the embassies as well, the British embassies.
Right.
So I'd sent stuff to Estonia and Belgium and Germany and whatnot. So, but yeah, we made office furniture, desks, chairs, that sort of thing. And I worked there for 24 years. So I'd been a long time there.
Yeah, but you also have a little side hustle, don't you? But perhaps you wish wasn't your side hustle, and what was the main event?
Yeah, when I heard those sirens earlier, I thought, is it for me or for you? No, it was. I'm a drummer,
right?
In spare time, and I had worked in bands in the UK as well as a real job.
Sure.
And that's always something that I'm crazy about. I love music, and we would travel around the UK and work every week. Sometimes 2 or 3 gigs a week.
Right.
And coming here, I still wanted to keep that up. So at the moment, I'm teamed up with a really interesting guy called Ricardo, and he was born in France. His mum and dad were Galician, but they moved to Paris.
Right.
He was brought up in Paris, and then they moved back to Spain. And he later on in life spent about 20 years in the UK as well. So he speaks 3 languages, and Gallego as well. And he's a great guitarist. So we go out. I play cajon, the little box that you sit on.
Yeah, a lot of people won't know what that is. It looks like a wooden box, doesn't it? But it's a bit more than that, and they use it to create a percussion sort of background to a lot of the traditional Spanish songs in particular.
Yeah, it's important to say cajon as well.
Yeah,
because it could get confused with something else.
It could indeed, yes.
So, they often use it with flamenco, that you'll have a guy guitar and somebody tapping out a little rhythm. You can create, any beat on that if you like. So we travel around as an acoustic duo. We're available if you want to book us for weddings, funerals, bar mitzvahs, that sort of thing. So we're actually playing at a golf club in Monforte on Sunday. So we get about a little bit, but it was saying here when I went down to Malaga, you can sing English songs all day, and wherever you go, you'll hear English language music. You'll find it, won't you? Up here, you couldn't do a whole set of English language songs.
No,
it'd be bored. You have to put some Spanish stuff in as well. So I've learned some Spanish songs, and Ricardo, of course, sings some Spanish songs as well.
But are you not going to expand your horizons, John, and get into the Galician bagpipes?
We know some pipe players, and we've asked them to come and join us. We do a few songs, a few instrumental things, and we said we'd love some Galician pipes there. Yeah, and that's again the Celtic connection, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, I was introduced a number of years ago to a musician called Evia. It's spelled Hevia. Who became quite a sort of international success, but some of his music playing I think Asturian bagpipes, which is not like the Scottish ones with the 3 drones, is a different sound altogether. Absolutely magnificent musician, and if people haven't heard of him, look him up and listen to some of his stuff. It's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wonderful. So yeah, we'd like to try and get some more involved. It's one of our things. There's only two of us. We often try and get people. So, you can play this. Well, do you want to come and join us?
Right.
It's not really a stage.
Yeah.
But, so come and join us. And we get people. We have maybe one rehearsal with them. Oh yeah, you can sing this song, that song, and I love that to get people involved. And there's always people queuing up to join us.
But it's just people enjoying themselves, John, isn't it? People enjoying themselves, not maybe taking themselves too seriously, but just having a good time in the music and just taking part in the whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely. We've done some great little parties as well. And up here, I don't know if I mentioned this to you, they have some strange traditions. Traditionally, they're quite superstitious as well. Right. It's the sort of countryside where you can imagine maybe Lord of the Rings being filmed.
Right.
It's rolling hills, mountains, trees, forests, rivers. It's very like that, if you can imagine it. And they believe in witches. They call them Magas. I think I'm saying it right. And they have there's a celebration they do, and they have this special brew, and it's got like real hard liquor in it, and I don't 100% proof poutine or something. It's like that, and there's coffee beans in it and orange peel, and they set fire to it, and there's these blue flames, and they get a spoon and they sort of lift it up, and there's it's like liquid fire. And they say an incantation over it as well while they're doing it,
and then drink it.
And yeah, you have a drink of that, and it's you're not going very far.
Yeah, they have an Andalusian version of that called Caimada.
Which bird I think it means. Yeah,
which more or less, and is something to set fire to, and everybody drinks it afterwards.
I didn't know that the.
John has frozen.
Yeah, when can you hear me?
Yeah, you froze for a second there, John.
Okay, yeah, it stopped raining, by the way. When we, I'm we asked what do you do for a living and what have you. So I also am a freelance writer. So yes. I qualified as a proofreader, and it's something I did even in my old job. They would get me to kind of proofread the brochures and the technical literature and the commercial copy. So I've continued that also here as well.
That's well, we've collaborated, John, with your writing, and I have to say, and I'm you don't got a big head, but you are a very good writer, and you've done a lot of news items and articles, and the quality of your writing is excellent. But it is difficult, John, isn't it? To and I'm not just talking about you in the mountains of Galicia, but for people that come over here, it is difficult for them to break into any kind of real steady work that's going to basically pay their bills. Let's be honest.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I suppose when most people come over, and there's so many things which make your decision. Obviously, when you first come over, we were quite flush. We'd sold our house.
Yeah.
And you've got to be of a certain age, unless you win the lottery, I suppose.
Sure.
You paid your mortgage all these years. And it's not something we thought about. Thought, well, you have to act sooner or later. You can't, when we're this age, we'll move. So we took the decision. And of course, when you first move, you got a bit of spare cash. You bought the house outright.
Yeah.
And we had, some money left over, so we made a few alterations to the house, upgraded certain things. But you're right. There comes a point when you have to start working. And it was a friend of mine who we met, Sarah, and she said, "Well, why don't you do this? There's English teaching. You can try that and try." I went down the route, because I've always enjoyed writing. Went down the route of proofreading. That's something which I also do. But I love writing, and you can write blogs for people these days.
Sure.
And there's so many digital nomads in Spain, I think now, and that seems to be the most popular, to my knowledge, the most popular way forward. Mm-hmm. But unless you've got some other skill, if you're a builder or something like that, but it's something you need to think about. Yeah, absolutely, and it comes with its challenges.
Yes,
it's not easy. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, and I think what you said it resonated with me, John. That when you first make that move over here, and hopefully you've got a bit of spare cash and things. It's very easy just to play the tourist and think that is what life is going to be like. But I remember with my late wife, we'd been here a few months. We're getting building work done, all sorts of things. And actually saying, we really need to stop living like tourists. And, we need to start living as if we live here. And there was that point where we had to just sort of say, right, we're not eating out every day. We're not doing this. We're not going here. We're not going there. We're going to settle down and live our lives a bit and look for work or whatever. But it's very easy just to come over and be the tourist, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's a trap, isn't it? Absolutely, you're lulled into a false sense of whatever. Yes, it's always at the back of my mind, and I suppose you never know which way life is going to go. I suppose, in a way, it is a little bit of a gamble, but life is anyway, isn't it? And I think if you hang back, there'll always be that. So imagine you come over. It's nothing that's irreversible.
No.
But I think if you didn't do it, the regrets of not following your dream are bigger than we tried it and we had a blast. And unfortunately, I'm going to have to do this or do that to rectify things or whatever. Or even, worst case scenario, move back to the UK.
Yeah.
But I think the regrets of not doing it, live with that forever.
Yeah, I remember years ago, John, seeing somebody with a T-shirt, and the meme on the T-shirt was "Don't die wondering."
Yeah. I know. Yeah, what a great slogan. There's always that, isn't there? And you say life. You never know what's around the corner.
Sure.
Sadly, I've seen people. He's not with us anymore. Mm-hmm. And last week he was back. He was fine.
Yeah.
There's always that. You can't live your life, just wondering. I think it makes life exciting, doesn't it? No matter what happens.
Sure.
But yeah, I'm thinking about why we came here. I see Nina's sister had a place in Albox.
Yes.
We'd go over there, and she said, "Oh, wouldn't it be great to live here?" And I said, "It would be." I said, "But it's too hot for me." And that was one of the main reasons that we chose Green Spain, if we call it. I said, it's terrific. The Sierra Nevada mountains are rugged. I love all that.
Yeah.
But I said, it's too hot for me, and I'd miss greenery.
Yeah, Albox is sort of Costa Blanca South sort of area, isn't it? So you're talking about real interior Mediterranean on the east coast of Spain, and it can be warm. Down there and dry.
I was a crazy spaghetti western fan. Still am, I suppose. We went to the mini Hollywood.
Oh yes.
And it was, I think, that day we got back in the car, and the car was in the shade. It was 42 degrees.
Yeah.
And I said, it's great for 2 weeks for me, but if it's just too hot for me. Nina, I think, would happily go there, but for me, I said, it's just too much for me. And here you get the seasons. It does rain, but we have some fantastic summers in England.
Yeah, I mean, I think in conversations we've had before, John, I said that the seasons are what I miss living down here on the south coast, where it's either summer or not summer, and that's it. And you have to look hard to recognise springtime and, autumn. Well, we've got a lot of trees here, so we know when it's autumn, but a lot of the trees are fruit trees and don't shed their leaves. So, this... having the seasons I think actually helps you to shift in your mind from one part of the year to the other as well, doesn't it?
Yeah, I definitely miss the seasons, and yeah, it's something that we're used to, and I would struggle, I think, to live where it was summer or not summer, like you said.
Yeah.
So yeah, the season, and we had, we get snow. Usually around. We had a fantastic Christmas. It was red hot, but sort of February time, yeah, we had a sprinkling of snow, and it lasted a day, and then it had gone. But I enjoy that. It's just enough.
So, John, our time is rapidly running away, and I have to. I'm going to give you a little plug. If anyone out there is looking for a writer, I would highly recommend this man and the quality of his writing. What would be the best way to get hold of you, John?
Well, thank you for that. That's a very nice compliment, Bill. I suppose the best way is my email, really. I'm working on getting a website.
Right.
But the email is John Ensor, and that's JOHNENSOR, 1804 at gmail.com.
That isn't your date of birth, John, no?
Yeah. How did you guess? 1804 for year.
So,
yeah.
John Ensor, just as it sounds, JOHNENSOR, 1804 at gmail.com. And I will put it onto the podcast as well. So if you're looking for someone to do writing for you, I would certainly highly recommend this guy.
So kind.
John, we've got about a minute to go. Can I just say it's been an absolute pleasure talking to you. And we've got blue skies, sunshine again.
It's not raining.
But I do miss the rain and the grey skies and things sometimes. Thank you so much for joining me today, John. Maybe you can come back again and we'll talk a bit more about Galicia.
Love to.
Thank you so much, everyone who's been listening. Over 100,000 listeners today, which is great. Great to hear. Have a wonderful weekend. John, thank you again. Have a great time, folks.